I'm fixing up a batch of cookies with various ingredients, two of which are gold and silver. It's not vegan, it has eggs in it. I keep the sugar down because I don't like too much sugar. And I add a significant amount of beeswax, having melted the beeswax in the oil, peanut oil in this case, prior to making these cookies, to help distribute the beeswax, diffuse it throughout the oil. And also some seaweed and some diatomaceous earth food grade. Those are like the active nutritional components, and then everything else is extra. So I'm going to list the ingredients in the bottom below the video. And then I'm going to bake it on a cookie sheet, an oiled cookie sheet, at a low temperature, because I found I tend to burn it if I run it at the required temperature that I got off the internet. So I think I found that I think 250 degrees was the right temperature, and I just cook it a little bit longer, obviously, than what it would have been otherwise, but at least I don't burn the edges at a lower temperature. So this is the liquid portion of the ingredients: the eggs, the murky colloidal silver water, saw palmetto powder, which is causing it to turn a little brown, 3 eggs, brown shelled eggs, pasture raised. What else? Oh yeah, sugar and peanut oil. The peanut oil combined with the wax I haven't added yet. I have to melt that, or heat it up, I should say, because it's actually, I think I'm going to spoon it and mix it. Yeah, I haven't spooned it. I have this stuff I want to use up. It's got cocoa powder in it and various other ingredients. So it's going to be a lot of chocolate in this recipe. Normally I don't think I would use that much chocolate. Oh, and I'm not showing you the chocolate chips. Well, maybe I shouldn't add chocolate chips. Yeah, I'll leave that out because I'm going to have too much cocoa in here as it is already. And then this is the dry ingredients: the whole wheat flour predominating, followed by garbanzo bean flour, and then a small amount of corn flour, finally ground corn flour, and then the seaweed kelp powder, the freeze-dried lemon juice crystals, and the diatomaceous earth food grade in this batch here, along with sugar. Actually, I put sugar in both. I started putting sugar in the flour mixture, and then I realized I needed to put sugar in here, or I didn't realize, I assumed I needed to help me whip it. But actually what helps whipping is adding the water, and probably is going to help is adding oil. Oh, I added a little oil to this. Yeah, right, I said that already. So I added oil to here, but it doesn't seem to be holding too much the air bubbles. So I don't know how to whip eggs, to tell you the truth. I'm a little new at this. Be that as it may, I was hoping to make more like a angel food, you know, where it puffs up because of the egg content. Now there's no baking soda, no baking powder in this. I don't like those ingredients. They tend to destroy the B vitamins, and I don't know, I'm just too sensitive to weird stuff. And as far as I'm concerned, adding an alkali such as baking soda is too weird for me. Anyway, so those are the ingredients, and the main thing is to find a way to get gold and silver into the body in a way that is not noticeable. And then beeswax is the supporting carrier for metallic filings, so that the metallic filings do not irritate the stomach lining, the intestinal lining, because the wax serves as a carrier for the metallic filings, particles. Because I'm using very strong murky colloidal silver water. I make it very strong, so strong that the glass pitcher serves as a dielectrical medium of a capacitor, so that the environment surrounding the glass pitcher is one voltage, and then the voltage inside is another, and so it deposits excess silver on the inside of the dielectric material, on the inside of the glass pitcher. And then you can see it's murky at the bottom, and I have it, when I want to pour it out, I turn on the magnetic stirrer to churn up the silver particles. But it's kind of murky because it's quite strong, and it's turning brown because it's old, but I don't care, just so long as it has lots of silver in it. And I do it in a customary manner. I use a machine. See, this bottom piece here is a combination colloidal silver generator and magnetic stirrer, and I just use it to stir now. I don't use it to make the colloidal silver. For that purpose, this cost over $200, but for making silver, I use this machine that cost me $900, and it uses these silver plates, 4 silver plates, plus I add silver wire as my other electrode. So I rewired this to combine, because these are split into 2 sets, positive and negative, and they alternate. But I rewired it with a bunch of wire connections so that these 4 are all one electrode, and then I have another silver wire as my other electrode. And this unit is, you're normally supposed to put the electrodes in a 5-gallon bucket, a plastic bucket, to make 5 gallons at a time. But I don't want 5 gallons volume, I want 5 gallons density, or quantity I should say, of silver, but made more dense, more concentrated in a smaller volume. So I use this 2-quart glass pitcher as my smaller volume. And I make this makeshift cover to hold this, because this wasn't, the machine comes with a different kind of holder that goes across a 5-gallon bucket, and I don't want that, it's too big, so I just made my own top piece and connected everything together. So and then I changed things. I went inside the circuitry. I opened up the case of the unit, and they have some set screws that can change the intensity of the electrical process. I'm not sure if it's voltage or current or both. They have 2 set screws, and I just turn them up all the way. So the unit gets a little warm. I'm probably aging the unit, you know, but I like it that way because I want to create as much silver as quickly as possible, because it's okay. See, I don't try to be dainty about this. You know, when I need silver, I need it in big quantity. And so rather than be dainty like most people, and oh, I gotta have colloidal silver and it's gotta be like a maximum 20 parts per million. No way. No, I want thousands of parts per million. I want so much that the water is murky and collects silver on the sides of the container. That's how badly I want the silver, because it's okay. Because I know from my intuition, I learned that using edible wax, not petroleum-based wax, but edible plant or bee-based wax, I can use wax as a carrier for metallic filings, because they do irritate the intestinal tract, the whole intestinal tract, and I have a sensitive intestinal tract. So how do I deal with all that silver? I use a carrier agent, and that's wax. But wax is weird unless you blend it with oil. And then actually food research scientists are making margarine now with plant wax, such as derived from sunflower seed or soybeans, in place of hydrogenated fats when they make margarine, as a new type of margarine. They're studying, they're researching this. So, and then the National Institute of Health, the NIH, has an article which reports the use of beeswax to coat the inside of food containers so that silver can be impregnated into that waxy coating on the inside to help preserve the food contained in those containers. So after I'd already intuited the use of wax, I went online and found confirmation that I'm not alone. People are already researching this and studying and thinking about it. So I thought, gee, it's got all the support of nature I could possibly want. And so why not do it? And I did it, and it works. So that way I don't have to worry about my consumption of metallic fiber, or metallic, fibers, or what do you call them, particles. And of course I'm not going to utilize all of that. I'm not trying to be efficient. I'm trying to be largesse. I'm trying to use these things in excess, because I know whatever I need, I will use, and whatever I can't use, that'll be that. But I want the max. I want to max out because I need the benefit. Not so much the gold, but the silver. I really need, because I was born with a weak immune system. I was sickly as a child, and I hated being sick all the time with fevers and the nightmares that went with the fevers and the nosebleeds that would never stop, and the sinusitis that made me talk like this, and oh my God, it was in the asthma, and it was just, it just ruined. And weak. I couldn't keep up with other kids my own age. I couldn't play with them and have fun. So I'm learning by learning from others, and how to make improvements though on my own to make use of lots of silver, and then a small amount of gold fiber is useful too, or gold particles, gold leaf powder, because that combines, it complements silver. It just goes together. What can I say? But then I need the egg protein to help me utilize the stuff, on the same principle as chelated minerals, and then I need the beeswax as a carrier, so that whatever ions get released from the silver and from the gold, it'll be adequate to take care of my needs. But I want to make sure I have a maximum of both, the presence of both, let's put it that way, the presence of both, and not just try to be dainty and, well, I'll just take the ions of silver. No, I want the particles to slowly, like a time release capsule, slowly release ions of gold and silver as it passes along the gut, because I have a very weak digestive force, not a whole lot of stomach acidity. Some gold chloride will be produced, some silver chloride will be produced in my stomach, but not a whole lot. Actually, what I have is a lot of fermentation and gas and constipation, and so what will happen in all likelihood is that the various acids, such as lactic acid, acetic acid, produced by various bacteria in my gut, will help to further break down the particles of silver and gold and release ions at that point in time, all the way down to the colon, which is perfect, all along the entire digestive tract. Now, gold actually, I should state something. Gold is related to glutamate overproduction by the brain. Because when the brain produces too much glutamic acid, or glutamine, amino acid, that suppresses various tissue functions, organs in the body, such as the liver. And that's why a person gets cancer or MS or ALS, because their system is depressed, because they're producing too much glutamine, amino acid that acts as a suppressant. So one of the weird or nice benefits of gold leaf powder is the elimination of colon cancer. And it can be quite painful when it occurs suddenly without warning. But then you keep it up, and then you know you're going to be free of colon cancer for the rest of your life, see? So it is worthwhile, and it's a worthwhile investment. Now, gold leaf doesn't come cheap. I can't make it. I have to buy it. So on eBay, I found that a mere ounce can go for like $30. No, excuse me. An ounce can go for 120 some odd dollars, while a tenth of an ounce goes for $30. It's well worth the investment, let's face it. You don't use much. And then to spoon it out of its little vial, little container, I use 2 toothpicks held closely together as my spatula. Now, 1 toothpick doesn't do it, but 2 is just right. And then I can, if I take too much, I can always bang it lightly on the side of the jar containing the gold leaf to shake some of it off, and then shake it off here, and then lick and roll the toothpicks while I lick them to get off. I want to make sure I don't waste any gold leaf. And then the silver, as you saw, I make it in a machine. And then the rest, all the other ingredients, I buy except for the beeswax. Okay, so the beeswax, you cannot use, I'm sensitive, so just taking my advice, which you don't have to take, obviously. If I can get my stuff out of the pantry here. If you take my advice, then you get the 1 ounce bars of beeswax. Do not buy the 1 pound organic. It's a waste of time. That stuff is so bizarre, it's unbelievable. This is organic too, but for some reason, it's edible. In other words, the problem I had with the 1 pound blocks is it felt like I was going to get a stroke. It felt like it was clogging up my arteries, and it was really bizarre. Now, nobody sells beeswax and calls it edible grade. They merely call it cosmetic. Nobody expects you to eat the stuff. You know, if you buy honeycomb, it's different. Then you could drain out or rinse out whatever the honey, and then you've got pure beeswax, which has, been totally not adulterated in any way, shape, or form. This has been because it's been pressed into blocks. So, in a sense, it's already been adulterated, and we don't know what process to use. I don't know. All I know is, no matter what the reassurance, it doesn't work to get it by the pound. It pays to get it in these little 1 ounce bars, and you get about 4, 5, or 6 to a package on Amazon. And it works out just fine in terms of quantity. In fact, it's a lot easier to work with, incidentally, because then you can take a coffee mug and put 1 or 1.5, because you can actually break those 1-ounce bars with enough twisting force. So if you want 1 bar or 1.5 bars or a half bar or 2 bars, you can easily put it in a mug, a coffee mug or tea mug, and put in your oil or butter, whatever oil base you're going to use, lard if you're so inclined, and put that in a pot of heated water and melt it, and then you stir it and to mix the beeswax thoroughly with the oil, and then let it cool. And now you've got your beeswax in a way that you can dispense it readily and mix it with other oily based concoctions that you're trying to create in your kitchen. So to see, there's a little chemistry involved in trying to stay healthy. And we already do that chemistry when we cook foods and dehydrate foods. This just takes it a little further because I was born with a compromised immune system, which was compromised further with antifreeze poisoning over a decade ago. And that really shoots your immune system to pieces, along with your liver and pancreas and whatnot and your kidneys. If it doesn't kill you, it kills you slowly by degree, by accelerating the death process. I watched my 5 cats die, and then I had myself to deal with. And a raw food vegan diet did not prevent the continuing evolution of that death process. It's not good enough. Cancer comes in various degrees of severity. And the lighter, milder cancers, sure, you could address it with diet and exercise, but diet and exercise alone is not enough for some of the more virulent cancers that can take you out a lot faster than the slower progressive ones. So you got to do a little more. You got to do a little more homework, a little more work, a little more discipline to stay alive with the more virulent forms of cancer, which, when it comes to antifreeze, is merely a side effect to the mutation of the genes. So I'm stuck with the mutation, and then the cancer arises periodically as a side effect. So that's how severe. It's like walking through a nuclear reactor without any protective shielding. It's pretty severe. I had no idea how severely toxic antifreeze is. Now, Sierra Freeze is a product that's safe, but it'll void your warranty, and no auto repair mechanic will change out, flush, and put in, use 1 gallon of Sierra Freeze to flush your radiator and then use the 2nd gallon to fill it. No one, because they're afraid of lawsuits. It's amazing how much fear our society is racked with to keep things the way they are. So unless you're willing to deal with these things on your own, we don't get the benefit, right? Because nobody's going to do it for you. There's no money in it. It'll ruin various businesses to do these things commercially. We're lucky that we have what we have. But we have what we have because it doesn't make people too much healthier. Slightly maybe, but not too much. So as to avoid ruining certain sectors of the economy in which there are a lot of vested interests to keep us sickly and increase the risk, keep the insurance companies going, and whatever. You get the picture. So I just thought I'd share this recipe with you. Now, I didn't cook it yet. And the other cookie recipe that I made prior to this, I already gave away to a friend of mine. I have a fudge recipe in the refrigerator, but you know what fudge looks like. It basically, there's no way to tell the gold and silver is in there because there's so little in terms of visibility, but there is so much in terms of what we are accustomed to. And so, yeah, there's some gold and silver in seaweed, for instance, or in food if you can find it, but it's so minuscule as to be hardly noticeable that it would give you any benefit at that level of concentration. So if you need more, you take more. It's the only way around it, obviously. Anyway, so I thought I'd share with you, and I hope you enjoyed this video. And now I will stop talking and continue to prepare this mixture of mine. Happy eating!